As if the world is not dealing with enough issues at the moment, add to all of it misinformation and fake news regarding COVID-19 and the vaccine. Many people don't know that participating in spreading fake news can land you in a lot of trouble. To discuss this, I'm joined by Jacqueline Fick, CEO of risk and assurance group VizStrat Solutions. Jacqueline, thank you very much for your time. At the beginning of the lockdown last year in March, government threatened quite severe action, legal action against people found to be spreading fake news, specifically at that point about the origins of COVID-19. We've moved quite a long way from that now, but we're seeing just as much mis- and disinformation now about the vaccine rollout and safety. Have we seen any action being taken against people spreading fake news?
Good evening, everybody. Yes, unfortunate for the people spreading the news, but yes, there has been action already taken in terms of the regulations that were promulgated under the Disaster Management Act. The interesting thing there is to note that this covers fake news, as it's called, or malicious communication that is transmitted by any means. That means whatever you send on social media, what you send on WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, or on your Facebook or your Twitter page. So there has definitely been action, something that is very close to my heart, because I feel that fake news and reports about COVID is almost just as bad as the disease itself, because it causes mass panic and it causes disinformation, and basically what it is doing is robbing the public of the right to make an informed decision.
Jacqueline, what could the charges be against a person found to be spreading fake news or disseminating false information?
So, of course, the primary one, when it is COVID-related, is a contravention of the regulations, and that carries on conviction, carries the penalty of 6 months imprisonment and or a fine, or even both. So it's quite a nice sentence given the measures, but of course that does not preclude the use of common law offences such as forgery and uttering, and of course even in certain instances, based on the facts, you could even look at fraud. But there is definitely mechanisms under the Disaster Management Act regulations that says thou shalt not. Of course, you can only charge a person and be found guilty meeting certain conditions that the evidence must present.
Is it very difficult to prove these kind of crimes and to try them?
It sometimes can be very challenging. In most instances, what you are dealing with is a form of digital evidence. So the communication, sometimes when it comes to the attention of the authorities, or it's referred to, for example, Real 44 as a complaint about false news, you are at the end of that communication, and you, of course, have to work back towards where the origin of that was. But understanding that if you do meet the criteria for a guilty conviction, the passing on of these messages could also land you in trouble. So, yes, it can be difficult, but the government has formed a multidisciplinary task team dealing with these kind of complaints, and the process can be very effective. But of course, as I say, some cases are difficult and some can be easy.
Given the fact that I think most of us receive at least one WhatsApp message a day, if not more, spreading fake news, and we see many more posts on other social media platforms, do you think South Africans realize the severity of disseminating information on social media amid what is, at the end of the day, still a state of national disaster?
My personal opinion is sometimes we pass information on too easily. And, you know, I just take from my personal experience some of my family members, and I've now taught them to say to me, we've seen the following message. Do you think, can you ask the right questions to see whether this is true or whether this is a false statement? So Do we disseminate things very quickly? Yes, we do. But there's also responsibility on all of us to make sure and to look at valid and reliable sources of information and compare what we've received against that. And I must say to you, some of these fake news messages appear to be very real, and they absolutely aimed at causing harm. And when we look at this, it also filters back to what is needed actually to prove a person is guilty of an offence or a contravention of the regulations. And the first instance is you need to prove and look at whether this message is false or not. And if it is false or not, did the person know that what they were passing on was fake news? Thirdly, what is important is, of course, what we call mens rea, that you pass this on knowing that knowing that this information is false, and your intention with passing that message on is to spread fake news, is to disseminate false information. So this is quite a strict type of burden that you have to prove. But on the other hand, it also protects people that innocently pass on these messages so that you don't end up prosecuting or persecuting the wrong type of people, but go after the people that really want to harm South Africa at this stage and want to disseminate false information.
Well, thank you very much for your time. That was Jacqueline Fick, CEO of risk assurance group VizStrat Solutions. Still